Thank you all for coming. My name is Herson Go. I'm a member of the SCCCA board, and it's my honor to present Dr. Lin here, Professor Lin. By the way, before I do that, a couple logistics. How many of you guys are here for the first time in this building? There? Okay. So just to let you know, in case you need to go to the restroom, as you get out the door, you turn right, and then you make a left. The restroom will be on your left. Okay. The second thing, as you walk in, you probably saw the sign that says no photography and no video recording. Okay. But we intend to record this whole presentation, including the PowerPoint slides, and post it most likely on YouTube, but the link will be sent to you via email.
Okay.
Okay? So, how many of you know Dr. Lin already?
Everyone.
Almost. Okay. Well, just for those who doesn't know Professor Lin yet, he's a professor at the University of California, Irvine, okay, of integrative medicine, cell biology, and biomedical engineering. And really, to me, he's just a very nice guy. And so, now, he was appointed by the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services to do those two things. Part of the National Advisory Council on Complementary and Alternative Medicine, okay, and also Public Advisory Group on Non-Pharmacological Management of Pain and Stress in Military. So, there's another slide, I believe. Okay. I guess I should not fight with Dr. Shin. Before I knew all these qualifications, I thought, hey, I could handle him. But anyway, he trained with the top Qigong masters from, I don't know how you pronounce this exactly, Qigong International Research Institute, okay, China, US, Wutang Qigong Association, Taipei Chinese Martial Arts Training Center, Shanghai University of Sport. He was a visiting professor, Shanghai University of Traditional Chinese Medicine, Qigong Research Institute, co-creator of World Tai Chi and Qigong Day, and permanent co-chair of World Congress of Qigong and Traditional Chinese Medicine. Let's give Professor Lin a round of applause. Yes.
Testing. Well, thank you so much for the generous, gracious introduction. How many of you were here a few weeks ago for the Tai Chi? Okay, all right. So I hope I won't repeat things too much. That will bore you. So tonight we have the third session in the series, Science-Based Qigong for Mind and Body Health. As advertised, this is a continuation of the one from 3 weeks ago on Tai Chi, but I will repeat some of the more essential things because there's quite a few people who weren't here last time. So first I will start with a comparison between Tai Chi, Qigong, Kung Fu, which is the one coming in September, okay? And just, in case of curiosity, I put yoga here too. And we call this like the Eastern mind and body practices. And very quickly, you can see that these things actually complement each other rather than duplicate each other. So, for instance, Tai Chi has fast and slow movements, dynamic stretching, while Qigong is all slow movements and it has dynamic and static stretching. So that's unique to Qigong in this sense. Tai Chi has certainly martial arts applications where Qigong doesn't. And for the next one, coming in September, certainly Kung Fu has fast movements, a lot of repetitive movements too, and this has a lot of cardio benefits, cardiovascular benefits, and obviously martial arts self-defense applications. So very quickly, just repeating a little bit of what I said last time, and then extending from that. So Qigong is defined as mind-body practices where you regulate the body, the mind, and breathing at the same time, integrated together. In Chinese, that's called 调身调息调心三调合一, regulate all three at the same time. So let me just talk about first 调心, regulation of the mind. Now, last time I quickly said that using EEG, okay, in the laboratory, where we put electrodes on the brain, we record subjects while they were meditating. And the main finding is that at rest, okay, and then at meditation state, the three marker brain waves, okay, alpha, theta, is alpha, theta, indicative of a person in deep rest. They go up a lot, meaning the person is deeply resting. But you also get that if you go to sleep. But unlike going to sleep, you have a big increase in beta waves. So that means that the person is resting, but the mind is very, very active. So this is not something you can achieve while you're sleeping. So the question is, well, how is it possible that you can rest while your mind is very, very active? So we're very curious about that. And so we'll move on from EEG analysis to what we call photon migration spectroscopy. This technique puts a laser beam on the forehead, doesn't hurt, okay? And we measure the light coming back out. And this will give us a measurement of the rate of oxygen consumption. So if the brain is very active, it will burn more oxygen. So what we see is this is the beginning of the meditation period. In red is oxygen consumption rate. And we see that, very quickly, oxygen consumption drops to a new lower level, confirming that in fact the brain is, really resting, it's not using up as much oxygen. So, in other words, during meditation, there's no question the person is getting a lot of rest and it's not very active, not burning oxygen and so forth. But then, then how could it be also very, very active? So meditation is defined as the state where the mind is concentrating on one single thought, okay? So what this means is that while you're resting, when you meditate, you are also training your brain. You're sharpening your brain. You train the brain to be able to concentrate very, very well, much better than people who don't meditate. So in this study done by our colleague at UC Santa Barbara, they showed that this is before, two groups of people, randomized controlled trial, two groups of people at the very beginning, they were tested on how well they can concentrate for a prolonged period of time. This is called sustained attention response test. And the level, started to, at the same level. But the red group, which is the meditation group, after a week of intensive meditation training, the ability to concentrate increased very, very much. Okay? So it's a measurable thing in the laboratory that people could really concentrate better when they go through meditation training compared to the group that didn't. The group that didn't, of course, no change. And this translates to a lot of, benefits in real life situations. So I usually give this to college students and tell them that meditation is good because, like in this particular study, you can see that people before and after, okay, in terms of mathematics, you know, as well as reading, they improve. Okay, so for those people who want to do better in the job or certainly in school, meditation is a very helpful thing. Next, we talk about regulation of breathing. Okay, so again, last time I touched on this, and I will expand on that. So Qigong breathing, one might define as the three parameters: slow, breathe slowly. How slow? In the laboratory, we have people breathe from the normal rate of 12 times a minute to 10 times, to 8 times, 6 times, 4 times, okay? And then measure, okay, at what rate of breathing can one see benefits. As it turned out, there's a magic threshold is 6 times a minute. When you're breathing in and out 6 times a minute, you get the benefits that I'm going to talk about. Any faster, which is like normal breathing, so no benefits beyond your normal activity. Deep, okay, deep, breathe to 80% of maximum capacity. So the average person has a lung capacity of 2,000 cc. Normally, when you're sitting here, just reading the newspaper, watching TV, or listening to me, you're only using 400 cc, only 20% of your brain of your lung capacity. But during Qigong breathing, you're supposed to take in like up to 1,600. So that's like 4 times, more oxygen coming in and out, and CO2 going out than your normal breathing pattern. And then even, okay, slow, deep, and even. Even in, even out. And at least for beginners, don't hold your breath, just even in and even out. Now, let me just say for now, I will speak for an hour and 15 minutes, and then for another hour and 15 minutes, I will clear the chair, and I will teach you some basic techniques, and the techniques are used to illustrate all the things I'm talking about now. So it's very well integrated, the talk and the hands-on learning, okay? So, Qigong breathing. I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Chi Cheng in the audience here, one of our very early supporters of our research program, and in this case, he's a subject. And what we're doing here is my collaborator from Shanghai University of Traditional Chinese Medicine Qigong Research Institute, Dr. Shen. So we have all sorts of probes on Dr. Cheng here, and first of all, we could see his breathing pattern by putting this belt around his body. So we can see that he's breathing in, breathing out, respirating in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. Okay? If you look at this line that I've drawn, so breathing in, blood flow, okay, goes up. Breathing out, comes back down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So during the breathing in phase, we could see an increase in blood flow measured by laser Doppler. Okay? And breathing out, the blood flow comes back to the baseline. Okay, breathe in, it goes up. Breathe out, it goes back down. And if we take an average of the blood flow, we're increasing blood flow measured any part of the body, whether it's the hand or the foot, by a whole 50 to 100%. Much better blood flow. And we can see that that is because when we breathe in, the heart beats a little bit faster. It goes, pop, 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 okay? And then breathe out, pop, 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 pop. Obviously, I'm exaggerating. It's not that big a difference. So breathe in, the heart rate increases. Breathe out, it decreases, okay? We're measuring the time between beats. So when the time between beats comes down, that means that the heart is beating faster. So we could explain why when you breathe in, blood flow increases is because the heart is beating faster, it's pumping more blood. So we can understand quite well now that deep breathing slowed down to no more than 6 times a minute will increase blood flow all over the body. Okay, so last time I taught you some techniques to demonstrate that. Tonight we will repeat that again in a different form. Now, going on to new things, in addition to better blood flow, breathing will really calm you down. Okay, this is results that we got since a few weeks ago. So in this case, how do we put subjects in a stressful situation? It's up to my college students to think of that. They make the subjects play this game called slender arrival. I assume that you guys don't play that. I'm sure your children play this a lot. This is a game where you watch the TV and you don't have any weapons and bad people are chasing after you. Okay, it is simple explanation. Okay, so we have the subjects monitored for stress, measured as heart rate and blood pressure. Okay, so when you're stressed, your heart rate okay, and your blood pressure goes up. So first you look at here. Okay, so this is heart rate before watching. Okay, the video game, and then during the video game, the heart rate went up to here. Okay, then we tell the people to, okay, that's all right, just breathe, slow, deep, and even. Okay, so these people had a little bit of training that we gave them, and you see the heart rate then comes back down even during the game. Okay, blood pressure. Okay, same thing. It starts out here, and during the game, blood pressure went up, and then we told them to not stop breathing slowly and deeply, and it came down. Now, these doesn't look like big differences, but statistically it's quite significant. Okay, so we can see in this model that you can relieve stress and calm yourself down if you go into a deep breathing pattern. So in addition to blood flow, increasing, you have this benefit as well. Next, something I talked about briefly last time. Repetitive activity, as measured in a cat, could boost serotonin level in the brain. We talked about that to make you feel better, to make your brain work better, to make you digest food better, and so forth. So here, while we concentrate on breathing, so this experiment, the cat was put in a chamber, and a collaborator at Princeton measured serotonin in the brain, and as they increased CO2 in the chamber a little bit to 4%, 8%, the cat started to breathe deeper and deeper breaths. And that happens, when that happens, the level of serotonin in the brain increases from here to here very markedly. So that's the third benefit, that when you go into a deep breathing pattern, you actually feel good because of the serotonin, and you calm yourself down, and you have better blood flow. Next, we go to a new topic we didn't talk about last time. How using your brain, you can actually increase your strength, okay? Obviously, if you use your muscles and train your muscles, you can have more strength. But if you just train the brain, you can actually increase your strength as well. So this is a study done at the Cleveland Clinic by one of our close colleagues over there, Dr. Yu. So the experiment is like this. They had a bunch of subjects divided into 3 groups. Okay? Group 1 is the lazy group. They don't do anything, okay? The second group is the exercise group, okay? They exercise both their, arm muscles and exercise their small muscles, the finger muscles, okay? They exercise for about 10 weeks, okay? And then the third group, okay, every time this group is exercising, this group was told to pretend to exercise. They just imagine they're exercising. So they sit there and they pretend to do that while they're actually not doing it. They imagine it, okay? Also small fingers, they imagine they're pressing up, they're not, okay? So we want to see what happens to the three groups. 10 weeks later, this group, we don't have to talk about anything. This is the comparison group, also called control group. They didn't do anything. They did not gain any, strength. Whether big muscles or small muscles, no change. This group, the exercise group, okay, they faithfully train, several times a week for 10 weeks. And for both big muscles and small muscles, they gain 30% of the strength compared to the baseline. Okay, so instead of being able to lift 100 pounds, they could lift 130 pounds. That's very significant. But the striking thing is, okay, for the imagine group, they actually didn't do anything. But every time they imagine, they do it. Okay, they imagine doing it, but they're not doing it. They gain 20%. Okay, almost 2/3 of the gain by the exercise people. All right, I know you guys are okay. Well, I'm never going to do any exercise again. I just watch TV and pretend I'm exercising. So let me clear this up. Okay, this is an increase in strength, but not increase in muscle mass, muscle tone, muscle size. What is the increase? Increase is up in the head. Okay, so strength certainly increased a lot. So, to measure any changes in the brain, they use the method that we also use, EEG, okay, to measure brainwave patterns. And look at this, okay. So this is the actually exercising group, and this is the imaginary exercise group. And what are the bars, okay? So let's look at this. This is the exercise group, okay? So when they exercise, okay, the brainwave patterns here, which is the part of the brain involved in movement, increased, okay? It went from here to here. And during and even afterwards, the brainwaves back here is much higher compared to not doing anything, okay? There's a big jump. But look at the imagining group, okay, the imaginary group, they also got an increase, okay, when they imagine they're doing it. They're not doing it, they just imagine. But the brainwave pattern increased a lot as well. Not only that, okay, after 6 weeks, after 12 weeks, the imagine group, the brainwaves got stronger and stronger. This is from mental training. See, baseline is here, okay, as 0 week, okay, this is percent control. At 6 weeks, it went up 10%. At 12 weeks, went up 15 to even 20%. So, in other words, just training your mind, okay, you can increase your brainwave strength, and as a result of that, you can actually lift things more, okay? So, this is showing that if you do some of the exercises I'm going to teach you, like you pretend you're doing it, you can actually improve your strength. Next, what if you pretend but actually move? Okay, just now I said just pretend, don't move. So here, if you pretend and you actually say, that, okay? But no weights, okay? This group is really heavy weight and breathing. This group now is just like pretending but moving. Wow, okay, doing that, okay? That actually also has a lot of benefits. This is a study done by our colleagues who collaborated with UCI. They're from Sweden. They looked at what happens when subjects ride a stationary bicycle, fast, okay? So, at this point, okay, this is 1, 2, 3, start bicycling. And they have a tube, inserted into their vein, and they continuously draw blood samples. And the samples were analyzed for 5, 6, 7 different hormones, okay, or cytokines. So you see, this is riding a stationary bicycle. Once you start, these things all jump up, okay? But the one that jumped up most and quickest is interleukin 6, called IL-6. Dramatically more so than interleukin 1 or interleukin 8 or interleukin 1A and so forth. So what is this interleukin 6 that jumped up so fast, okay, when you start to exercise? What they found was that every time you contract muscles, okay, like in this case, leg muscles, okay, those muscles will secrete IL-6. So this is a muscle that's active, and when it's active, it starts to produce and secrete IL-6, interleukin 6. What does it do in the body? Well, it goes to fatty tissues and break down fat, okay? Breaks down the fat you store in the body. That's one of 3 functions of interleukin 6. Number 2, it goes to the liver and breaks down glycogen. Glycogen is the storage form of sugar that gives energy. It breaks that down, okay? That's very good, okay? You break down fat, you break down glycogen so that you have more sugar in the body to use. That has to do with insulin sensitivity. But unfortunately, it also suppresses the immune system. So, this is a good and a bad, okay? So, what we can take from that is that you want IL-6 for this, but not too much, so that you don't knock down your immune system. So you don't want to have IL-6 all the way up to here. This would be like riding the bikes, very hard for like, 15, 20, 30 minutes, or like running miles, or like overdoing it would be running the marathon. You want to do something that will contract the muscles, but not too much, so that you have the benefits of breaking down fat and breaking down glycogen, but not suppressing your immune system, because that will make you sick. So, again, we can see how if you pretend to lift weights, but actually move the muscles, okay, you train the brain, okay, but you also, without using weights, you actually contracting the muscles, and the muscles could secrete interleukin 6, and it could break down fat in your body. Now, what's the proof that it will break down fat in the body? It was done very elegantly in this experiment. The researchers took mice and did a genetic modification. It's called gene knockout, okay? They removed the gene that's responsible for producing interleukin 6. You see what happened to the mouse? Oh, like that. Got a lot fatter. Okay, and then they inject interleukin 6 back to this mouse, it becomes back there. So it's very clear that you do need interleukin 6. If not, we would all look like this. Okay, and this is a sick mouse because the immune system. If this one gets too much, it becomes a sick mouse because the immune system is suppressed. But just right, and then you have a nice body like this or like this. So this is a proof that what I said is true, that it will help break down fat. So when you exercise, people always say, well, how many calories do you burn? Well, doing Tai Chi and Qigong, you really don't burn that many calories. But if you do the right type of exercise, you actually secrete interleukin-6 and it will break down fat. So it will make you, more trim and fit, not because of burning calories. Next, I'm going to talk about stretching. Okay, stretching. Just now I talked about dynamic stretching and static stretching. So last time I talked about Tai Chi, right? I taught you stretching exercises such as, remember this one? Or maybe not. That one, okay? You're stretching while you're moving, okay? Qigong has some simple stretching exercises that also combine static stretching, just like, I'll show you, you just stretch. You hold that and come back, okay? So, it's a little bit different. To you, maybe, stretching feels good, okay? Stretching warms up your muscles and tendons, so you're less likely to hurt yourself by over-exercising on cold muscles and tendons. Might even reduce soreness the next day, but it actually goes a lot further than that. Stretching, okay, like doing this. See, when you stretch not only your muscles, but you stretch your tendons and your connective tissues. So this is a breakthrough series of studies that happened in the past 5 years. You see here, when you stretch, okay, this is like the skin level, this is like, deep inside. When you stretch, you pull on the connective tissues. Okay? What's very interesting is when you pull on the connective tissues, there are a number of cells that are connected to the connective tissues. They get pulled too. Okay? It would be like you're sitting in this room here, you're just sitting here, and I'm standing over here. But I start pulling on this carpet, you see? And because you're all sitting on the carpet, when I pull on the carpet, I'm affecting all of you. I'm affecting people all the way to the back row because I'm pulling the carpet. I'm not touching you, okay? I'm just pulling on the carpet. So if you think of the carpet as the connective tissue, okay? Carpet, okay? These strands here, you see the white strands, that's the connective tissues. And you are like these cells, okay? You are sitting or holding on to the carpet or the connective tissues. So when you stretch, you pull on the connective tissues and you pull on these cells indirectly. And these cells, so, oh wow, I'm getting stretched. And they start to change their function. Because cells can sense mechanical forces and translate that mechanical force into biochemical changes. The thing that's very interesting and important here is that these cells, when they're stretched, okay, they're called fibroblasts, they start to secrete a signaling molecule called ATP. Now some of you may know ATP as an energy source, but ATP does many other things. ATP is a signaling molecule, and when the cells secrete ATP, the ATP will come out of the cells and they will bind to receptors at the end of nerves, create a signal to send all the way up to the brain. Which part of the brain? The brain that controls perception of pain and inflammation. So when you stretch, okay, the cells, fibroblasts put out ATP, and the ATP stimulates the nerve endings and signals the brain, and that signal becomes pain relief and anti-inflammation. In other words, if you have pain and inflammation, you want to do some stretching because that will actually initiate pain relief and anti-inflammatory action. So what I told you is actually done and proven like this, okay? In this study, done at Harvard Medical School, they actually take a piece of tissue, okay, and clamp it, and then there's a motor that stretches it, okay? And then they analyze the cells in that piece of tissue. The tissue has been cut out and used for this purpose, okay? So they pull on this, and then what they see is these are the strands, these are the connective tissues, right? And then you pull on that, and this is one of these cells called fibroblasts. They get pulled indirectly, and they start to secrete ATP. So, to make a short story long, so to speak, for those of you who want more details, so stretching stretches the connective tissue, and the cells that are bound to connective tissues, they change shape, and they start to secrete ATP. And the ATP binds to receptors, okay, at nerve endings, and that could lead to local and systemic pain relief and anti-inflammatory action. You also have, in addition, a local effect that doesn't go through the brain. The ATP, okay, can actually be metabolized to adenosine. And adenosine can bind locally to other receptors that will also relieve pain and inflammation. So when you stretch, okay, if not only do you have a local effect, okay, you may also have effect all over the body as well, because it acts locally and acts on the brain will tell the rest of the body. So tremendous effect, okay, not just locally but systemically for relieving pain and inflammation. So this is very newest stuff that is very exciting in our field, and it's just the past several years that this has been uncovered. Okay, let me go on to something even less obvious, okay? So, in Chinese, the word Qigong means the exercise that will increase your qi. It's not the exercise that will increase your serotonin or increase interleukin 6. Thousands of years ago, they didn't know any of this stuff, okay? They just know that when you practice Qigong, you increase your qi. 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, they didn't know anything else, okay? So the word qi is not a scientific term. It's just a feeling that people have, okay? There are many ways to describe qi, but it's not scientifically defined. You cannot go out by a qi meter and measure people before and after they do Qigong, okay? So for us scientists to study the effects in terms of increasing qi, it becomes very challenging because there's no definition. I'm not saying that qi doesn't exist, but there's no clear way to measure qi because we cannot define qi, okay? So it would be analogous to Qi is like love. Okay? Yes? You know, we feel like we have a lot of Qi or we don't have Qi. Just like we feel like, you know, we have a lot of love or that people love us or people don't love us. You know, it's a feeling, okay? You cannot go and measure. On the other hand, in modern research, there are biomarkers of love. See, if you feel love or you love people, you know, certain markers will go up. Like dopamine, you know, will go up. There's certain things that will go up, okay? But those things are not unique to love, okay? Dopamine could go up if you, you know, go to Costco and buy something really cheap, okay? Oh, wow, you know. So, eat chocolate, okay? Oh, that go up as well. So, they are markers, but they're not unique markers of love. But we can measure them, in a sense, and, you know, get some value from that. So, Qi, we cannot go measure Qi, but in our laboratory, we look for a few markers that we know how to measure. So Qi is a type of energy, right? So vital energy or life force, okay? So we say, okay, well, energy, as a biophysicist, okay, I certainly know how to measure heat, light, electricity, magnetism, you know, those things I could measure. So we ask the question that if you practice Qigong, does the emission of heat, light, electricity from the body go up? We're not measuring Qi, but maybe it's what's called a surrogate marker. See whether they go up or not. It's just an interesting thing to do because we know how to do it, okay? So, in this case, we've done a lot of these experiments. The data I'm showing you is the best that we have, obviously. I want to show you this. So, the gentleman there is Grandmaster Chen Zhen Lei. Okay, he's the Chen Sao Tai Chi top guy. You know, he and his cousin Chan Xiao Wang. Okay, the best people in the world doing Tai Chi. And I'm privileged to be, you know, a colleague and friend, and also trained with him for many years. So he came to the laboratory. And we say, okay, Master Chen, why don't you do 20 minutes of Qigong type Tai Chi, okay? Lao Jia Yi Lu, okay? So, breathe in, right? Peng, breathe out, Yu, okay? Breathe in, Ji, and breathe out, An, and so forth for 20 minutes. And we'll measure you before and after that to see if your body energy has gone up. Okay? So, the first thing we measure is whether his body temperature went up. Okay? So, we have a very sensitive infrared camera that's hooked onto a the computer, and his hand, you know, beginning is like this, and afterwards warmed up. Okay? And we can calculate very accurately the temperature. So this is his hand before and after. Okay, that's when it went up. And we've done this several times, so we have statistics and so forth. Okay. So, but what's the comparison? We, in the beginning, ask him to ride the bicycle, ask him to run upstairs, but those things are very complicated. You know, it's like apples and oranges. How do you compare 20 minutes of Tai Chi, Lao Jia Yi Lu, versus riding a bicycle? So then we said, well, okay, on a different day, you come in and you do Lao Jia Er Lu, okay? So Lao Jia Yi Lu is to yang qi, cultivate your qi, nourish your qi. Lao Jia Er Lu is for self-defense, okay? So instead of what I just did, Lao Jia Yi Lu, Er Lu is still Tai Chi, okay? So breathe in, okay? Breathe in, breathe in, breathe okay? So it clearly like sending out energy, using up energy, but still Tai Chi, still breathing in, breathing out, and all that. And do that for 20 minutes, okay? And you see, 20 minutes of that, the body also warmed up, okay? The difference between here and here are not significant, okay? So the body warmed up. So, not surprising that both the type of exercise, okay? Now it gets interesting, okay? So we say, all right, let's measure something else. Let's measure energy as light. Now, we all put out light. You know that? Not convinced. Okay. You see, these light bulbs put out 1 million photons per second. Your hand puts out maybe 10 photons. Okay, that's why you cannot see each other in the dark. Your eyes are not sensitive enough. You actually put out bluish green light, but very little. In order to measure the amount of light that can come out from, let's say, the palm of the hand, we built a single photon counter. So this chamber is light-proof, and Master Chen's hand is in there, and through the electronics on the computer, we can count how many photons are coming out of his hand. So this is before slow Tai Chi, and after slow Tai Chi, a very P is 0.0, a very significant increase. Okay, but you wouldn't be able to see that. Okay, but electronically we could measure that. Now the interesting thing is, with the fast Tai Chi, there was no significant increase. This wasn't significant. Okay, so significant increase in the amount of light coming out, not here. Next, we want to measure energy as electricity. Your hand actually puts out electrons, okay? But again, you cannot like hold a light bulb, okay, and light up the light bulb. Not that many electrons. So we have to turn to a technique called gas discharge visualization technique, where we could amplify the electrons coming out of the hand by many, many fold, and then count, and then measure. So, after slow Tai Chi, it went from baseline up to here.